All right. And now I'm going to share the screen for just a little bit. Our agenda tonight, as usual. Got a number of new people with us tonight, a couple anyway, a few. So why don't we start out with an old habit? Would somebody read our mission statement for us?
Sure. We work as political activists to build a bold new democracy that is passionate, progressive, and powered by people.
Here, here.
There we go.
All
That's
right.
our overall direction. Yeah. And we decided at the end of the last meeting that what we would talk about this year, I describe it as framing our future. How do we sharpen our impact? And if people haven't had a chance, and I'm just gonna show this here for a second, then we'll get it for a little bit, then we'll get into the discussion. Let's see, it's right here. That link that you saw there on the agenda, and I'll look at it, takes you to this, media's role in a democracy and how to frame your beliefs. A lot of what Milo, our guest last week, was talking about was basically I'm going to use the term evaluating media. And he really never used the term frame, but that I recall anyway, but that's what he was talking about really, is how can you improve the framing that media undertakes. And what they do is they will get in touch with media people and make suggestions to them, comment on them directly, this type of thing. That's part of what they're doing there. And they really have an impressive list, by the way, of one of the things they do. They recommend newspaper publications. Well, they're based in New York, but if you look at their website, mediaanddemocracy.org, they've got a list out there. Every state, they have lists of newspapers that they recommend. It's quite impressive. And just for an example, Cincinnati Enquirer is not one of them. Cincinnati Herald is, by the way. Anyhow, here's a lot of information in here. And we really didn't discuss that, so I'm not going to say anything about it per se. But there's a lot of information in here about framing. We really had a discussion about this several years ago. And actually, if you recall, I believe the date was March 28th, and the video is still out on our website if you want to look at it. Matt and April Rausch, they did a topic that included they did a presentation that included the discussion of framing. And since I sent out the invitation, I added a lot of more stuff to this document, and most of it came from their presentation. So this was all of this stuff you see in here came from their presentation. It had to do with the same thing. It really has to do with framing. A lot of really good information in there. And then I came up with some ideas about an issue that's been important to us has been abortion. It's framed as a reproductive right and justice. I found it framed in some instances as public safety. And there's some links related to that. This one specifically links it as a public safety issue. And then the pro-life advocates are also using that frame of public safety from a different point of view, of course. And then others frame it, those who agree that there should be, or think there should be freedom to have abortions, also frame it as freedom. So here's some good articles related to all that if you haven't looked at it. But all of this up here doesn't have anything to do with specific topics other than examples it gives, but it just talks a lot about framing. And that's, they're excellent discussions on how to better improve messaging, that type of thing. But I just wanted to share that real quick. And then I want to get into our discussion tonight. Did people who either saw the video or thought about or at the presentation last week, do we have any comments about how you think we could do a better job in terms of expanding our message? What are some of the things we could do or need to do? Any thoughts about that?
Well, Brewster, a couple months ago, suggested we call up some of the people that haven't been coming to meetings to kind of expand our numbers again. And I don't know that I didn't do anything about that. And I'm wonder if anybody did, but I thought that was a great idea. But I think that's one way to get more people involved so we can get more people writing or being active.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. That's good. I certainly haven't done that. Has anybody else done that? Thought of that?
I
Okay.
do invite people who seem to express an interest in a topic that I'm bringing up about it. I haven't been very good at having the little cards on me so that I can actually say, here's how you do it.
Mhm.
You know, and it's a little messy when you tell somebody a web page to go on or, you know, something like that, and they don't know what to look for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
And-
do we still have a bunch of those cards that we could carry?
We've got a fair amount of them. I'm not sure exactly how many, maybe 100, something
We
like
can
that.
always make more if needed too. It's very easy.
Well,
Yeah.
why don't you bring them to the, but these are the big ones, right? The
Yes.
post ones.
Yeah, they're not.
I wonder if we want a business card size one. I would carry them, you
Mhm.
know, routinely, but maybe bring them to Drinks for Democracy so people could pick them up.
All right.
You know,
All
just
right. I can
everybody
bring some more
take
if you
5
want.
of them and think about it when you're getting signatures or when you're talking
Mhm.
about whatever your issue is that we address.
Okay.
Yep, I can bring some more.
Sorry,
You know,
what?
one thing that I think I mentioned last week, I ran into some young folks when I was doing the reproductive rights petitioning. 2 young people from Xavier, I think they were heading up the Young Socialists. They're real interested in all the same issues we are. And I told them about our website and I told them about, you know, the weekly meetings, but I regret not getting their emails and just sending them an invite, because to count on people doing that on their own after a conversation is, you know, you almost have to just invite them and do it online and sort of get in their face a little bit in a nice way. But I really regret not getting their emails because I would have invited them and I think they might have come.
Mhm.
And to Matt's point, you know, because they represented Young Socialists and they're active on campus, we could have invited them to talk too, rather than just be
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
So going forward, if I do run into somebody, I'm gonna try to capture if they're willing to give me their email and just invite them. Because I think that's a
Okay.
better way to get folks involved.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So actually try to get a contact, some type of contact information from them, certainly.
Mhm.
Ruth,
Yes, let me follow up first with what Lucy just said. I love to, even with, now COVID is, just in our back mirror, but
excuse me,
I
Ruth,
used
you've got a light. You've got a light that's shining in your face. It's
well,
kind of
can
hard
you,
to.
yeah, it's from outside. It's sunset.
Halo.
Is that better?
That's-
Okay.
There you go.
So
Mr.
I like to
Halo,
say, first I always say I'm vaxxed and triple boosted. And then I have my phone and I say, would you want to put your contact information in my phone? And then text me and I will email you back or text you back and we have that. So it isn't any more pieces of paper. It's just my phone. Or they can give me their phone and I can put you know how that works. So that's the number one thing. But I love to just make it so simple and I feel so smart when I do it. And anyway, the other two things though that came from the talk, I thought I heard that there were only a small group that really did the planning part, a small group that did the planning. And then they had this, that's the first thing, small group. I thought he said 6 people, but maybe that was their board. 6 is too, okay. Then the second thing though, he said, we say to people, you want to do some action. We're going to have an hour of action on this day, this time. They tell them how to connect in and they get to do an action for an hour, whether it's writing postcards or I don't know, whatever their gifts are, but it sounded like, and I know that it just helps me when I do an action, I feel better. And that is a way for people to not have to come to another meeting. They just do the mitzvah, the good deed. And I just like those 2 ideas. So that's
Okay.
what I remember.
Okay. These are all good ideas. Sue Ellen, did you have another?
Well, I just wanted to remark that, you had put out that invitation to the meeting that they offered some kind of a training thing that was, you thought was last night. Anyway, so I
Mhm.
signed up for it. They have contacted me 3 times today on
Mhm.
social media. Somebody is on top of whoever tries to connect with them.
Mhm. I know, yeah, I did the same thing, of course, and yes, I noticed.
So if there is a way to, when people show interest or in a meeting or anything, to, if there's a way to sort of organize that so it happens automatically.
Yeah, they have people register for the meetings, which we've never done, but that might be
Right.
something to think about. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
John?
Yeah, I was sad that Matt and Brewster weren't on the meeting last week because I think they would have found it very interesting. So they may want to go back and watch the video. I really did like the thing that Ruth was just talking about, but I believe that was not this group. That was a previous group that the guy was in California. But I told Mary about it and she got real excited because, as you say, people like to do action. They may not want to come to a meeting, but they'll come and do something if you set it up. And they, it's an hour. I can't remember, it was something Sunday, what they called it. And it just seemed like a really interesting way to get people involved. Short term, not a big commitment, but like you said, they felt good when they got done.
Mhm. Mhm. Concrete action. Yeah,
Right.
good. Matt?
Yeah.
You're muted, Matt, if you
Oh,
may
sorry,
be.
Dad. I didn't hear you. My bad. So Shot to let you know, I did watch the video afterwards and it was awesome. I loved it. Couple things just from a comm standpoint. I think one problem that BND has is that we're duplicating efforts with a lot of other groups. We're doing a lot of the things that Ohio Voter Rights Coalition are doing. We're doing a lot of things that Common Cause is doing. We're
Mhm.
doing a lot of things that League of Women Voters are doing. And all of those are bigger groups than us. And so I think, if we go back and we look at our social contract and we get back to, first principles here of what we stand for and what we, our ethics and our principles, and we come back to that and we go to the next logical step, which is we don't get any of this without beating Republicans. And I think if we really focus on that and we don't duplicate efforts with all these other groups, we can support them. That's fine. And we should do that because they're all doing good work. But there's not really any, I hate to say this about ODP, but come on, people, somebody has to beat these guys. And nobody's really trying to do it. And I think if we came out and we're like, we are bold, New Democracy, and be bold and try to beat these people, we would get a better membership. And I think people want, to go back to the point Ruth made, people want to take action. And we see essentially, proto-fascism growing in our state house and in our country. And the first principle to me is we get nothing unless we beat these people. And so I think if we came back to that and actually we're not like, oh, we're going to worry about issue X or whatever. No, because we get nothing unless we beat these people. And if we actually focused on that, we would have a better time reaching out to people and being able to say, we're going to actually get rid of the supermajority in the state house this year. Like that's a tangible thing that we could try to do. And so I think if we focus on those kind of goals, we might be better off.
When you say beat, I immediately think of, or being bold, I think of better messaging
Yeah,
is
exactly.
what's needed. Is we could be the group that tries to improve messaging, maybe. Make suggestions around that and what have you, as an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not everybody can
problem-
be David Pepper doing the whiteboard, but we can definitely amplify that.
The problem with what you're proposing, Matt, is the delayed gratification piece of it. You can work your butt off right now, but you don't know if you're going to win until November or whatever next election is. And so, there have to be some steps in the middle that show that the progress.
No, I get to Sue Ellen, but I don't see that that's happening with any of these other groups either.
Yeah.
We could, if we could comment on messaging and we see people tweak their message or improve it, that's a way of seeing something happen. That's a way of seeing a result. If, for example, we see a newspaper article or a specific reporter or something, and the way they frame things, if we could address that to them, with them, and then we see change, that would be one way of evaluating what we're doing.
So here's my example, Dan. So the doctors in OPRR, they saw an issue was the taking away of reproductive rights, and they didn't pussyfoot around. They just were like, no, we're stopping this. And now they're going to have most likely a ballot initiative in November against everybody's advice. ACLU, League of Women Voters, everybody said wait till 24. I'm like, no, this is a moral issue. We're doing it now. And, that is a glowing example to me of how to do stuff correctly.
I'd like to come in and say, I've been away for a month because I had surgery. It's given me a lot of time to reflect and use my writing skills to write. And one of the things that I've seen, I've been to 2 more Blue Ohio lunch bag 60-minute meetings. And that is the place I want to put my energy. From my point of view, we've lost a lot of momentum in this last year since the election. And there are big issues that need action now. One of them is going to be determined this week, probably. That's if the Republicans get to shove through the August election on the constitutional amendment. Dear God. The second one is here in Cincinnati, the affordable housing ballot initiative. And the third one is getting the signatures to get reproductive rights on the ballot in November. That's what I'm giving all my energy to, those 3 things. And from my point of view, David Pepper has figured out how to have a lean, clean, effective, make a difference machine in Ohio. I don't have any interest in getting dragged along with the Ohio Democratic Party. But let's get things done before it's too late, folks. So that's my speech.
Okay.
And nice letter, Julie. Thanks.
Yeah, very good. So concrete action steps on here.
And help
Anything?
help other people know how to make a difference. It's what Ruth was saying. It's too late for this long range stuff while they're burning the barn down.
Okay.
Sue
Sue.
has her hand up. Yeah.
Okay, well, I agree with you, Julie, completely. And I did think you wrote an excellent letter. And I think we need to write those letters constantly. They are read, they do influence maybe one person at a time, but it's all everything we do is one person at a time. It's not a massive change that you might be looking for, Matt, but that's the way it works, is you get out there, you beat the bushes, and you persuade one person at a time. And these petitions, I don't think there's any more action more important than the petitions we're working on now, because this is not about, in my opinion, it's not about abortion, it's about religion. Some people religiously believe that a fetus has the same rights as a born child and needs to be protected, but there is no consensus scientifically on when life begins. It is religion, it's all about religion. And I think it's the young people who are responding to this. They're really responding. This might get them out. This issue has potential to get a lot of people interested who weren't interested in the past. And the young people really last fall didn't vote. And as far as trying to get somebody elected, we have to do everything we've always done and more, but we are dealing with gerrymandering. And, it's not that simple just to go out there and work hard and raise hell and get people elected. It's just not that simple. It's because of gerrymandering and the rigged system. So, I mean, we have a tremendous number of challenges, and I don't think we can address all of them. Right now, I'm with you, Julie. I'm spending all my time between now and November on this abortion, this women's reproductive rights.
And you're doing a great job.
Yes,
Sue.
if they get away with what they're going to try to do tomorrow and get this special election in August, it is really, it's the most offensive thing they could come up with to democracy. It offends democracy. It doesn't offend the abortion issue. It offends democracy. And
Okay,
so that's the number one issue to me.
very good. And you're doing a great job, Sue, with collecting signatures, I know. In fact, tomorrow night, you're doing it right down at the Hoffner Park.
Yeah, it's really, that's action, you know, and it's not that
Right.
hard. You just have to go out there and do it.
Right.
Talk to young people, forget the older people unless they approach you. Talk to the young people.
Yeah. The rest of us are over the hill. Forget it.
I'm not talking about you particularly, but if I'm going to be out there for 2 hours, I'm going to talk to the young people.
Matt? Again, though, that's the same goal. I mean, what we're trying to do is, I mean, if, and I think they probably will, if they put this thing on the ballot in August, we just got to beat it. And that should be our goal. And then we win in November. And you don't try to like go some sort of like fake middle route. You just do what you got to do to win in November and in August. And that means beating Republicans. And I hate to be like repetitive about this, but if you want to get non-voters and young people involved, you need to give them a tangible result to make them become involved. You need to say, if you do this, you get this. If you don't talk about some sort of abstract concept like democracy, you talk about your rights are being taken away. And if you want to keep your rights, you have to do this. And if you want climate change mitigation, if you want a fair economy where there's less inequality or no inequality, you have to do this. You can't be neutral on these issues. You have to give people stakes. And I think that's the problem with a lot of our, not R and BND, but R as in the progressive movement in Ohio's messaging, is we are not willing to be upfront about the stakes. We don't talk about, if you don't do this, this is what happens. And so I think if we want to actually be successful, we have to talk about what happens when people like Matt Huffman are in charge and how to prevent that. And I know gerrymandering is a huge deal, but you know, they've showed us what they're going to do. It's time for us to step up and fight back hard using any methods available to us. And I would highly recommend, if people haven't read it, to look at John Lewis's graphic novel March and see what the civil rights movement did. Those guys were not bipartisan. They were not neutral. They had a moral stance and they went for it. And I think, you know, if you want to actually win in Ohio and in America, that's what you got to do.
Okay. Thank you. And Ruth.
First, thank you, Julie, for saying use your gifts, whatever they are. And if you don't think you have any, figure out what you did when you were 5 or 6 and then go for that and practice it and you'll be surprised. Second thing, though, what can we do to call everybody who has a cell phone tonight? We can call and say what we think about 60%. That's a almost immoral threshold. I forget exactly what I'm going to say, but I'm willing to call anybody that's on that committee. And I bet, knowing Lucy Crane, she probably has a list here that I didn't see. And I'll just have to follow the list and call up and then I just get a script. I don't have to even have to know exactly the right number of the bill, House bill or Senate bill or blah, 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 blah. But
It's still HJR one and we have
Okay.
a list. We have a list.
okay, so it's probably all there. But my point is, when we each get off this call, we can pick up our cell phones. Well, not all at the same time, because then the line will be busy. But we can make a call tonight, and we don't have to talk to those nice young people in those offices and leave the message. And it's doable. Thank you.
Thank you. Lucy,
Yeah, just, too bad Constance hopped off, and this was in my report later, but she put the list in the chat. And I was gonna say to Ruth, after our meeting last week, I think Ruth, you sent a text or something and said, I just called everybody on the list. It took me a half an hour. And I felt bad because I told people to call, but I had only called the Speaker of the House. So I spent the next day calling everybody. And the list is in the chat right now. So you should just do it tonight when we get off, because the vote is tomorrow. Common Cause, Ohio Voter Rights Coalition, ACLU, any number of groups, they're doing a second march to the State House. They were listed as one of the 212 groups that are against this effing HJR1 and, SJR2 and the August election. We haven't been going to the State House for a while, but I feel it's very important to call. And I will tell you this, you're mostly going to get voicemail, but at every time I got that, I left my name. I said, I'm in your district, I'm not in your district, I'm a voter, I'm against this for these reasons. I'm tired of outside money, billionaire money being poured into this, because that's a sticking point. The Republicans don't like hearing that because they said they're doing this so special interests don't, push these amendments onto the Constitution. Well, they've got special interests pouring money into this. So I will say this, I did talk to one rep, her aide, and she said, thank you for calling. I think it was Sharon Ray. She's not in this district, but she said, I want you to know that she is against the August election. And she's getting a lot of calls. And I will pass on to her that you're not supportive of that. And I'll let her know what your thoughts are on HJR1. So that made me feel good. At least I got, and that's what people are telling us to do. We literally, if we wanted to do an action tonight, when we get off the phone, we should all do this because they pay attention to the calls that are coming in. So,
okay.
Anyway.
And we may have two slightly different lists, but I'll show you a link to another list in a little bit. Any other comments? Any other comments?
Yeah, I want to sort of pull the thing around full circle from what I've heard. For one thing, somebody said, use your talents. And so we all are going to do different things. But because we're in relationship with each other, we can act as a group. I listened to the video of the last week's meeting. One of the things that he said, what's the guy's name, Jeff something?
Milo.
Milo. One of the things he said that more or less depressed me was their goal is long-term.
Yes.
And that scares me because I probably don't have a really long term, being at my age and several others of us. But it just kills me that we may have to go through some more shit before our kids and grandkids can pull out of this thing and make this country right again. So to me, I kind of have to have long-term goal, short-term and medium-term action. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And of course, having been on CV team with Matt for several years, we're communication, and framing has been his thing for a long time. And Nilo really did a good job of distilling that idea, I feel like. And now I start to hear it from other sources. And so I kind of took heart from Nilo's list, for one thing, because he had Ohio Capital Journal on there. He had Cincinnati Soapbox. He had Cincinnati Herald. I don't know where Cincinnati.com was, but
Wasn't on there.
their state house people are, in my view, doing a reasonably good job. They're very, middle of the road. I mean, nonpartisan, whatever. And I think Lucy May is doing a good job at getting people on there. And local as well as state, etc. So we just have to try to keep this organized in our minds and pick up on the pieces that we feel fit with our abilities. And so, all right, that's my lecture for tonight. I'll shut up.
Thank you. Thank you. I've just I'm putting my email address in the chat. If anybody has trouble getting the chat, you can email me and I'll send you a copy of the list. So we have a action that we can take tonight, and contacting people. Lucy, your hand is still up. Did you have another thing here? No, we're done. Okay. I'm going to go back real quick. I'm going to close this out. Let's see here. Share my screen here real quick.
Let me mention that once you make calls to your representatives, they're going to be in your phone. And that's why it only took me a half hour. I had done it before, and a lot of them were in the phone already. So technology, I love technology sometimes. Okay.
Thank you. Here's some other things that are coming up real soon. If you want to get involved, Drinks with Temps I'm going to that. We are not having a meeting next week. I asked all the other leaders if they'd like to take it. No one volunteered. So I'm going to be there next Tuesday night. I encourage other people to consider that. It's in the agenda that Drinks with Dems is a link. You can join a lot of the local prominent Democrats, some of them from the state. I believe Liz Walters will be there. I know my representative, Jennifer, will be down there, what have you. Lucy's got a wonderful event. I believe that's on hunger. Is that correct, Lucy? The cane event? Is she still with us, or she's not hearing?
No, I can hear you. Yeah, I'm involved with Churches Active in Northside. It's our local pantry. And we're doing an event this Saturday. So if you want to come to Urban Artifact, they're giving us $1 a beer. And then we've got a lot of fun raffle baskets. So we're raising money for cane.
Okay, great.
Anybody that wants to
And-
go to that in my name, because I have to work a double shift at work, I will very much be grateful to anybody that shows up and donates for me, because that's a cause that I kind of very much interested in.
Thank you.
Great. And here's Julie's. Julie, you want to say anything else about this? The 60%? Here's the
No.
issue.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think that's enough. We just got a call tonight and get everybody
Right.
to know to do the same.
Mhm.
okay. Everybody has been emailed the agenda. If you weren't, you can send me an email. I put my email address there in the chat.
So one other thing to tie into what Julie just said, if and when they pass this anyway, do not get discouraged. Just beat them in August. I'm
Right.
100% serious. This is what we got to do.
Yep, yep,
This is essentially a war for our soul of our nation.
yep.
We need to win.
I've just been telling everybody who
Okay.
signs my petitions, you are not done.
Right.
Signing this does not get it done. If they make an election in August, you have to go vote against it. And then you have to go to the polls in November. And, you
Right.
know, that's another thing that we would have to do if
Mhm.
long-term we want to beat
Yeah.
the Democrats is register people, or beat the Republicans is register the Democrats.
I think
and
that's,
this is,
can I say something here?
sure,
Sue
go
Ellen,
ahead.
I think that's a really important point. When you get petition signatures, it's a great time to educate people, not just about this issue, but about how important it is to vote. Because the only reason this issue can pass, if it does pass in August, is if the radical right gets more people out to vote than the rest. And people, I think, have to understand how important their vote is. This is a perfect example of how important your vote is.
Great. I've highlighted it, people can see it. This Jennifer Marsh Geiner, that's the second list. That's a link. If you have a Facebook account, that's a list to maybe a slightly different list of representatives. And I asked her how she came up with that list. It's a list of people that ODP, Ohio Democratic Party, feels they're Republicans that they feel are on the fence. So this would be a good list. And I did notice that representative, and I've forgotten his name off the top of my head, but he's District 51. He is on both lists, and he is the one Republican who voted against it in committee. Tomorrow, the entire House votes on it. Here's some other usual stuff. Why don't we go ahead and Lucy, do you want to go through your items?
Yeah, this, I am so excited about. Councilman Mika Owens has, and this is interesting because Bold New Democracy leadership just sent a letter to City Council asking them to stand up for the fact that all of our rights are being stripped away by the state legislature. So anyway, it was interesting. Mika Owens has introduced a motion to improve civic engagement, voting access, and et cetera within city departments. It's going to go to council for a vote tomorrow. I talked to her office today and said, do you need people to come and testify? And they said, we're pretty sure it's going to pass. So I'm very excited that she's doing this. It's like thinking outside the box. It's promoting civic engagement. It's promoting voter education and registration within our city government. So I'm real excited about that. And if you want to call Mika and give her a thank you, I think that would be great. But they're pretty sure this motion will turn into a study by the city of how each of their departments can be doing more civic voter engagement, which I love.
Great.
The other is that Moms Demand Action this Saturday is, and with all these horrible mass shootings, it's really important to remember that Moms Demand Action is going to be out this Saturday down at Wasson Way demonstrating. So if you want to bring your kids, strollers, pets, whatever, and wear red, this is from Christine Zavon, who's very active in that group. And then the rest of the report really is things we've already talked about. Protect choice. A lot of us are out there getting petitions signed. And so just let's keep up the good work. We've got until mid-June to keep signing petitions. And I know many of us on the call are doing that. And then the other thing was just around, you know, an update on the State House. And honestly, if we do an action tonight by calling our state reps, that I felt like that was the last thing I could do. And if it gets passed, it gets passed, but at least I've done my effort to make it uncomfortable for them to do that. I'm not going to talk about the rest of this because we've talked about it before. We are doing, I will say, some of us are doing letter writing on May 16th here in Northside for people that are affected by House Bill 458, which is the anti-voter bill, I call it. And so if you're interested in doing that, give me a call and I'll be doing letter writing in Northside at First Presbyterian Church. So
Hmm. Right
the rest
here.
of, you know, the rest of this,
There you go.
there's a,
It's right
if you wanna go to-
underneath
if you want,
I
what did you say, Dan?
was going to say that that information's right underneath this day of action at the State House
Right.
picture there in the image in the agenda.
There's a lot of people, I think, that are gonna, they went to the State House once last week and then they didn't vote on it. So they're going back to the State House again this week, but there were hundreds of people at the State House. So they're making it very uncomfortable for our state legislature to vote on this, which is, so I think that's
Very
it
good.
for my report.
Maybe.
What's the word to? What's the reward?
Okay.
Reward for finding it.
Someone needs to mute. I'm not sure who it is. Someone needs to mute themselves. Okay.
Well, next time I'm gonna get my reward first.
Someone's having a second conversation. If you could mute yourself, I can't see who it is right now. Matt, did you have anything else?
I just wanted to bring up another CV team initiative that we're going to start working on after being very inspired by Milo's talk last week. We are going to start doing a sort of a press monitor thing where we look at various, you know, and we're kind of doing this already with the You Be the Judge thing, but we're going to be looking at how our media is framing our politics, both in Ohio and nationally. And we're going to start calling people out for bullshit framing, basically, and both sidesism and ignoring the truth for trying to hit the middle ground. And so,
Okay, great. And that's with the CV team you're talking?
yeah,
So I'm certain CV team meets Monday nights, if anybody else wants to join. Do we have, yeah, right here's Matt's email address.
Matt,
if you'd
can you remind us what that team is? I don't
the
remember. ever
communications and
do.
values team is me, Dan S, Dan L, Sue Ellen, Karen, and April, and we are basically focused on issues about communications and how to communicate our values.
Okay, thanks. Sounds great.
Sue, if you're interested, you just want to drop in. If anybody here wants to just drop in, there's Matt's email address in the agenda. And he can send you the link to join us. Be great.
Hey,
Yeah, there's lots of
I
beer and
did
jokes, so come on down.
notice any letters?
Dan, Matt also has a BND
Yes.
email address. You might want to put that one on there instead of Toby Torpedo. Just say,
Hey, he's bold.
Yeah,
He's bold.
I mean, I love
we
it, but
just have
I'll
I-
leave that up to
invitations to.
I've been using it for a long time. I got people that are going, what? What's Matt's address?
Right.
That's my dog,
Okay.
people.
And of course. Toby is, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
not, he
meeting
passed
next
away
week.
in 2012, but he's my best boy, so.
Meeting is canceled next week. We want you to join us at Drinks for Dims, Drinks with Dims, excuse me. Here's the link to sign up. It's in the agenda.
Yep. And then the week after that is Drinks for Democracy at West Side. And that will be posted on BND Social tomorrow.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, we didn't get this in here in time, did we? That's my fault. I'm sorry.
right.
The Drinks for Democracy, because we don't have a meeting next week, we won't be, well, I will be sending out something, so we can put it in there, Matt, if you can get the flyer ready in the next day or two.
Yep.
I'll be
I'll have
sending
it
out
for
at
you
least.
tomorrow, Dan.
Okay, great. And I'll send something out. Good. But in 2 weeks, Danny Isaacson is going to be here. He's the District 24 rep. And that's down in Cincinnati area there. West side, right?
Yep.
Is that correct? Yeah, the west side of Cincinnati. He's going to be here to join us. So
He was
There we are.
he was on Cincinnati Edition today, along with Cindy Abrams. And I only caught part of it, but I know he was so good, great. He joined a little group at Pat Brunn's house, and we kind of had a roundtable about what he's been doing, at the State House and what he's been working on and stuff. And it was really great. And then today, what I caught, interestingly enough, I would really like to call him out on, because he was using he was running through and it sounded like, oh, when we're doing this and we're doing that, but he was using titles of bills. I mean, he's talking to the general public. I need to know, friend, what is this bill going to do? And why is it great that the Dems are working on it and getting it done? So it made me more aware of the framing and how he was putting that message out on the radio, having just, listened to all this and our discussions. It was very interesting.
Great. So we did have an impact. See, within the last week, we had an impact. All right, folks, anything else tonight? There's my name on the screen. If you didn't get the email address, dan.schatzer@gmail.com. If you need the list, either list, the one in the chat or the link, Miss Geiner's list that's on Facebook. Send me a quick email and I'll get those lists to you so you can call. And it's also easy to send emails to them as well. And I can show you, basically, you just use their representative number at ohiohouse.gov is their address.
Just,
All
I
right,
had just had a question. Has anybody, this was in my report, but I kind of skipped over it tonight. Has anybody seen the Save Our Constitution PAC commercials that have come out? And I don't know if, Dan, you can click on it. It's clickable in my report, but it's coming out against some really staunch conservative Ohioans like Gene Schmidt, Cindy Abrams, who I consider very conservative, and others. And it's being funded by Richard Uihlein, who is with the Save Our Constitution PAC. It's crazy to me, but you know, they're attacking them for like right where it says 4 new ads.
I'm sorry, where at?
You just skip. It's above day of action, the blue day of action. So scroll down, 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 down.
Okay, I'm at day
Okay,
of
right
action.
above that.
Okay, right here.
Keep going. Up, right there where it says 4 new ads in blue. You're going too far. Save Our Constitution PAC, which is
I
funded
see it.
by, yeah. I don't know if you're able to open that or not.
I've got it in a Word document right now. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
opening it.
Well,
Yeah.
I would recommend if people have this to open it, because it's like shocking that they're going after these guys.
If I can get there quick enough, I can open it here. Should be able to.
There it is. Oops. Well,
It's a YouTube document. Or this took me to a YouTube page.
It is
Save Our
YouTube, yep.
Constitution PAC.
yep.
There you go. So,
They're coming out against Gene Schmidt, John Cross, Cindy Abrams, Tracy Richardson,
okay. Very good.
Jason Stevens. It's like crazy.
Yeah. Their tag is at Save Our Constitution PAC, PAC.
Yeah,
And the link was right
They're
Right
putting a
here.
lot of pressure on them
Above
about this issue.
image. Okay. Very
Okay,
good.
I'm
4
leaving.
new
I'm
act-
gonna go
4
make
new
phone
ads.
calls.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, folks, that's all we got tonight.
Well, I got
Thank
one
you
more
all for
thing,
joining us.
Dan.
And yeah,
So the leader of the opposing party is officially determined to be a sexual assaulter. So use that, people.
yeah. That's right. And he's,
Right?
they are proud that he's not a rapist.
Oh,
Yes.
Trump, yeah.
Not proven to be liable for rape, I
Right,
think.
Yeah.
You know,
yes, yeah. Only sexual assault, big deal.
well, he told us all that, before 2 elections ago. So,
Right. All right, folks, I'll
All right,
see you in 2
guys.
weeks, unless you're gonna be down there tomorrow or next week. Drink with Dems.
All right. We'll see you next week, Dan.
Thank you.
Thanks
Bye.
for all you're doing, Sue.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
It's my
Thanks,
pleasure.
everybody,
Bye-bye.
everybody.